life and married to Jesus. What is the point? No. Sorry.
Is it time to get to callers?
No.
Not yet? Okay.
No, it's time to get to Keryn.
Okay, good. Hi. Hi.
Hello. Welcome back.
Thanks.
How
Good
are
to
you
be back.
Yes. Yes, wanted to go over this week. Last week you did the death and dying and setting up funerals, making plans, stuff like that. This week wanted to go over something a little bit different. You are actually a practicing Jew.
Yes, I am.
And you go to temple, you go follow the holidays and all that kind of stuff, but you're also an atheist and a very active member and becoming more so every day now that you are the new, director of social activities or something like that for our social groups.
Yeah.
So you're becoming more active in the atheist group. So how does this work?
Well, the cool thing about Judaism, first of all, a little history on me. I'm Jewish by blood on both sides. My mother and my father and all of their parents are Jewish by blood. And the cool thing about Judaism is it's really more of, I can't say it's more of an ethnicity than a religion, because it's both. And it depends on what Jew you are and what kind of Judaism you intend to practice. But the cool thing about Judaism is that it is such a cultural thing. It's kind of like being an Italian, and you can be an Italian atheist without being Catholic, and you can learn Italian and you can visit Italy and you can learn to cook really, really great Italian food, and I don't know if there's any kind of Italian music or dancing that goes along with that, but Judaism has all of that. Judaism has a history. It's got you know, a common bloodline. It's got a really great language and a really great food and music and dancing, and just there's a great sense of culture that's involved in it. And it's a lot of fun to be a part of. And when I practice the rituals that seem to be more geared towards practicing things about God, for me it really feels a lot more like I'm just practicing a ritual that has been in my bloodline for a long time. I mean, I don't believe in all
like us doing Christmas, I guess.
Well, not exactly, not so much. I have a little problem with practicing Christmas. It's just not founded on any basis of any. We can get to that later, but I mean, really, it's just, I mean, a lot of the Jewish religion, I mean, a lot of the Jewish holidays are based on some event in history, some that usually has to do with being freed from slavery, or triumphing in some war where you were being oppressed. It has a lot to do with conquering oppression.
Give us an example of the traditional.
Well, for example, at Passover, a Passover dinner is observed by you tell the story of Passover, in which the Jews were slaves in Egypt, and various different things happened, in which case the Jews eventually got freed from being slaves in Egypt, and you observe it by telling the story, and you have this great feast in which almost everything that you eat during the entire feast represents some part of the story. For example, you eat parsley and salt water, which represent the bitterness of slavery and the tears that the Jewish people shed when they were slaves. You eat this stuff called charoset, which is sort of an apple butter. It's a fruit paste, and it looks kind of like pate, but it's meant to represent the mortar that the Jews, built the temples with, and stuff like that. Built all the buildings for the Egyptians, and it's really beautiful, and it's beautiful to take part in this holiday and these rituals, because it really makes you feel like you have some connection to your ancestors. I mean, my great grandparents, or whoever in my bloodline was involved in that. And yeah, I guess that's why it's so much easier for a Jew to be an atheist. And there are a lot of us. I was a practicing Jew back in Phoenix, where I just moved from, and I had a lot of Jews from my temple come out to me about being atheists. They'd never let anybody know before that they were atheists or agnostics, and they also practiced Judaism a lot. And it's a really warm cultural thing. Some of the temples here are very inviting for people who are Jewish atheists.
Wow.
I mean, in the Christian religion, most of your holidays are based on God and the birth and death of Jesus Christ, and any rituals, you know, and the way you practice those holidays doesn't even have anything to do with anything.
Very, very true. Christmas no longer is tied to Christ. At all, in the commercial sense, at least.
Not really. I mean, because Jesus wasn't born on December 25th. Christmas trees are pagan.
He wasn't a big fat guy in a red suit.
Yeah, he wasn't a big fat guy in a red suit.
He didn't drink Coke.
He didn't give. I mean, he didn't give rocking horses to children, and I mean, I don't.
Kind of is what threw me for a loop a little bit when I heard that you actually go to temple and such, because I know I went to church when I was young with my family, and that was basically just nothing but pure religion. God, pray to God, sing to God, kneel to God, you know, submit yourself all the time. And so in temple, what typically is, what's the weekly agenda?
Well, there are a lot of prayers. I mean, there's a lot of prayers and a lot of readings, a lot of passages, and a lot of psalms, and a lot of these do have to do with God. It's kind of easy to overlook that because a lot of them are in Hebrew. And so for me, when I'm saying these prayers, really it's more like I'm kind of ignoring the God part, and I'm just sounding out the beauty of the Jewish language. And that's what that part for me is about. There are a lot of them that are about, you know, celebrating any history, any ancestry that's involved. I don't know.
Well, since it's not a spiritual aspect of Judaism that you really get out of it, I mean, if that's accurate, is it more? It's more of the traditional sense of the ties through family,
the rituals,
and the friends that you make at temple.
The friends that you make, yeah, the sense of community, just going and being in a group of people that you share a common background with. There's often music involved. It depends on which level you go to. If you go to an Orthodox temple, the whole thing's going to be in Hebrew, and it's going to be chanted in a very, very traditional way. If you go to a Reformed temple, there's going to be guitar and piano and a lot of beautiful music, a lot of beautiful New Age tunes with a lot of harmonizing, and it's really a lot of fun to go in a big group of people that are kind of improvising a big group song that's just very beautiful to listen to. And then afterwards you get together and you just schmooze a lot, you know, and there's always an Oneg Shabbat, which is sort of a treat to celebrating the Sabbath. You get to have a big, well, not a big feast, but a dessert. I mean, the temple will sponsor a big dessert, and they'll have pastries and fruit salads, and it's a lot of fun.
But for you as an atheist, there's no real conflict between being an atheist and being Jewish? Because
not really. I had a little bit of conflict over the High Holy Days, which just occurred, that I talked about a little bit on the radio show.
Yes.
But Rosh Hashanah was pretty much a little bit hard for me to deal with, but Yom Kippur made up for it. And Yom Kippur was just a beautiful holiday in which you get to go to temple and sort of make a bunch of New Year's resolutions for a day that you really, really intend on sticking to, and that you practice various different rituals like fasting, just to kind of prove to yourself that when you make a promise, you can keep it, so that you can make this New Year's resolution and actually intend to keep it for a year, and therefore kind of just continually work on bettering yourself as a human being. I mean, it doesn't have to do with, you know, selling your soul to God and all that stuff.
Yeah. Very interesting.
Yes.
So.
It's great fun, and they always welcome strangers if anybody ever wants to come see what it's like. You know, there's different rituals like the lighting of the candles and the drinking of the wine and the breaking of the bread that are all involved. That are.
Is there a lot of participation in it, as in people who go actually do something there, or is it just you have the rabbi, I guess, and, you know, a couple singers and the people with the music and stuff like that, and it's just a show that you watch.
Oh no, there's participation.
Versus lots of participation.
I mean, there are singers and people with instruments that basically lead the entire congregation, the entire group in a big song that you can be involved in. and the rabbi will at the end sort of give a motivational speech for the week that's kind of related to whatever section of Torah he's reading. And depending on which temple you go to, I mean, I've found some rabbis that just every single time they give this speech, it really makes me feel, you know, like he's talking about something very relevant, and he's you know, working on, you know, just, I don't know.
Very interesting.
Yes.
Very interesting. So.
Thanks for the education.
Yes, absolutely. So.